very crowded in the summertime. And this bird tries to nest within all these beachgoers. And we were down to less than 20 pairs. With intensive management efforts, we were up to 60 pairs. Now we're back down to about 30 pairs because of spring storms have wiped out a lot of their habitat. They are truly a victim of coastal development and human disturbance. And once a species becomes so low and is listed as endangered, it's very expensive to ever bring these birds back. I spend more money on this one species than everything else I ever work with. It just takes, literally we're guarding every single nest that these guys have. So we don't want to go there.
I took pictures of something that looks just like that in Taunton Bay, 3 of them.
It could be a piping plover moving through. They
Well, it had
do
great
nest
characters.
east of us.
It stood in the water up to its waist
Mhm.
and darted forward to
Mhm.
get food particles. I've never seen sandpipers do that.
Yeah, it could have been one of these guys, just one of the maritime birds passing through, or maybe one of our guys pushed
I'll
up.
send you the picture.
Yeah, that'd be great.
This isn't the total population,
In Maine.
It's in Maine.
In Maine.
Elsewhere, is the population pretty strong?
No, not really. The Cape has probably high numbers. Prince Edward Island has high numbers, but on the whole Atlantic coast, there's less than 5,000. But anyway, so that's our most rare nesting species. The other species that nest in Maine are quite widespread and common. Spotted sandpipers, American woodcock, common snipe, killdeer. So we're not really concerned with the other nesting species. Willets nest in Maine in the salt marsh, but they're only expanding in numbers. So we haven't gone to regulatory protection for those species. It's not necessary. Piping plovers, that is protected through the Maine Endangered Species Act and what we call essential habitat. What I'm really going to talk about today are the birds that are using our coastline for migration. These are sanderlings, and we do have shorebirds coastwide, but because our coast is quite diverse, we have different species and habitats down East Maine compared to the southern end of the state. Sanderlings are coastwide, but the greater numbers of them are in southern Maine. They like the white sandy beaches. So just to give you an idea of the year in the life of these shorebirds, these birds that are staging in our coast, they all nest up here in the Canadian Arctic and subarctic regions, in the boreal regions. They nest, as I was saying earlier, shorebirds only lay 4 eggs. 4 eggs up in the Arctic is not a lot to hope to multiply your population with. Severe weather often makes these birds fail year after year. What keeps shorebird numbers sustained are not annual recruitment. It is survival away from the breeding grounds. It's adult survival the rest of the year so that if they survive, they can come back and nest again and try again. Shorebirds are long-lived. So these small sandpipers can live between 10 and 15 years. So if they can pull off 2 successful nests in all that time, they're doing pretty well. The bigger shorebirds can live up to 20 years. So anyway, so they nest up here in the tundra-type habitats. When they're done nesting, the adults will leave the young. They migrate first, and they go to these coastal staging areas. In Maine, the adults will arrive here between mid-July and mid-August. The juveniles have to wait and get the flight feathers, and then they will arrive mid-August to mid-September, all by themselves.
So they know how to.
They're just programmed that way. It's very interesting.
And what do you mean by staging?
That's the habitats that they use during migration, and what they're doing when they're staging is they're feeding to get fat, to continue, and resting. And so it's short stays, but very critical. Staging is visiting the urban stations when we're traveling. So anyways, they're at the coastal staging areas, and they do have to fuel this, the next leg of their trip is this 2,400 kilometer across the ocean flight. Now shorebirds can't put down in the ocean and rest. Once they start this leg of their trip, they're committed. They're either going to make it or they're going to plummet into the ocean and die. So it's really key that they get enough energy here to make this flight. We had one bird that we banded in Lubac that was picked up in Suriname 48 hours later. So what they do is they get up in the high elevation winds, they'll get up 10,000 feet, and they just go shh. Now if the winds are in their favor, and they have a good tailwind, as I say, they can make it 48 hours. If the winds dissipate or change direction, they can be flying up there for days. They have put satellite radios on some birds over here, and they were flying like 8 days without stopping. They're a bigger bird. Our birds are too small for radio, but just interesting research going on. Now, a lot of our species will spend the whole winter up in the northern part of South America, but many other species will fuel up again and continue on down. So they're huge. I mean, this is quite the life cycle for these little birds. After spending a lovely winter in South America, and they're on their way back up. Now what shorebirds do is what we call an elliptical migration. Instead of coming up the same way that they came down, they come up west of their southward route. And what they do is they do a lot more puddle jumping. They don't have so many huge flights. They make their way up, across the Gulf, and up Mississippi, across the prairie potholes, and then up to the breeding grounds. A lot of the birds will come up through the southeast coast up to Delaware Bay, where many of them will feed at staging areas that have horseshoe crab eggs, very important food source for a large number of these birds. They get the fuel from the horseshoe crab eggs to continue and actually still have energy to lay eggs. They are arriving in the Delaware Bay area in May, and then they're back up to the breeding grounds in May, June. So it's very fast, and then a month later, the adults, they're out of there. It's a wonder they're so long-lived, because this is such a huge amount of energy that their life takes. But as you can see, conservation of these birds is a multinational effort. Every step of the way is critical if these adults are going to survive and try and reproduce another year. A lot of impacts.
So a lot of food, is there a big food source up north?
Yeah, well, with the mosquito larvae and all that is what they're taking advantage of up on the tundra. Yeah, the diphtheria. So just to focus more in on our own staging area, we are part of this Bay of Fundy habitat for shorebirds. And we are recognized with the Bay of Fundy as the most important staging area for shorebirds in North America on the southward route. And if you can imagine, we have thousands upon thousands of these birds coming down from all this area to this tiny, funneling into this tiny bit of habitat to stage, to fuel for this next leg of their trip. This is what we call a mortality bottleneck. Impacts here can impact entire populations of these birds. A well-placed oil spill could take out this whole area. But another thing that shorebirds have very strong site fidelity, and this is what banding studies are showing, is when they come to a staging area, they're programmed to that particular area, they don't explore. If the area that they come to is degraded, they're not going to try and find a different area. They will tough it out, and they might get the fat to continue on the migration, or they might fail. They're not programmed to do a lot of exploration, and really they don't have time. So such that, like, birds that use the Taunton Bay area will only come to this area. They're not going to go to Cobscook Bay or Pasco Bay. Birds from the upper Bay of Fundy will not ever come through Maine. And we know this because They have banded thousands of birds up here. They've banded thousands of birds in Massachusetts. We never see those birds come through our state. The few banding studies we've done in Hancock Bay, those birds were never seen outside of Hancock Bay. So they're pretty strong site fidelity to each major bay.
And when do they come to Taunton Bay?
They start, the early ones could be in the beginning of July. The big numbers, you get the wave of the adults at the end of July, and the wave of the juveniles, usually the end of September. But all weather permitting, wind systems permitting. But so the point of this really is that we are responsible for those populations that use Maine. If we lose our birds, we're not going to get birds from anywhere else.
Is there an eastern hemisphere pattern similar to this?
Yes, yeah,
So they go down through Africa or something?
right. And there's quite a number of species that go from the Russian down towards Australia, and down that. They actually have some
The
longer
same
flights.
species that we have?
Some are the same, some are different. Yeah. We are very much responsible for the semi-palmated sandpiper, which I will show you a picture, but not right now. So as you can imagine, there are threats every step of the way. The threats on the breeding grounds, of course, weather, anything in the Arctic, they're going to be subject to lake snow, development in Quebec, and of course, oil exploration and drilling have always been in the news. There's also natural threats like predators up there. Years when there are low lemmings, their predation on shorebirds is very high. Threats on the wintering grounds, coastal development that's happening on all coastlines, landscape changes. By this, what they're doing in South America is they're converting a lot of natural wetlands to rice. And the birds can feed in the rice flats, but often these are filled with contaminants from the agricultural practices that they use down there. And then they still shoot shorebirds down in South America. Again, we have our rural, that's that same picture. It's a short-billed dowitcher sailing around. We do have one species that winters in Maine. This is as far south. This is their going south for the winter, is our coastline. This is the purple sandpiper. And no one knew a lot about these birds because they generally inhabit rocks and ledges offshore. And who wants to be offshore in Maine in January and February? Well, I was. It happened for 5 years. And we have started studying these birds, and come to find out, we have over 10,000 of these birds wintering on our coastline, most in the mid-coastal region. And the Canadians estimate the whole population of this particular race is only 15,000 birds. So we have at least 2/3 of these birds wintering on our coast. So we actually have a high responsibility for this particular shorebird species.
Where would they nest?
They're way up on Baffin Island and an island in Hudson Bay, the Belcher Islands. So threats to staging areas. These are all staging areas at every step of the way. Of course, we have concerns with high elevation wind patterns changing because of the global climate changes, sea level flooding, development and human-related disturbances. Shorebirds are very susceptible to disturbance. People moving in erratic movements, they think everything is a predator. And so when they should be eating and gaining fat, if there's disturbance, people around or movement, they're not eating, they're spending their time flying away from what they perceive as threats, and then they're not gaining the fat they need, and they're not maintaining that positive energy flow. So human-related disturbances are a big threat to shorebirds. Of course, oil spills. You can have a spill on a mudflat, and even if the birds aren't there, say it's in February, you can still destroy the invertebrates that live there. So then when the shorebirds do come, there's no food left for them. Collisions with towers, wind farms, aircraft. Again, they do travel at 10,000 feet. I'm sure some get knocked off by planes. I have had the Navy call me and ask me what's on their radars, you know, these big clouds at 10,000 feet. Those are my birds. Stay away from them. And there has been an increase in their natural predators. Peregrine falcons and merlins are increasing, which is a good thing, but not so good for the shorebirds. But they don't kill so many, as you can imagine. They're only going to take one a day if they're really good. But just them on a feeding area, they will constantly keep the shorebirds moving as they try and hunt. So it's a huge disturbance factor for shorebirds. But
When these birds move, do they move in mass numbers?
yes, when they migrate, yes.
Is it from one group or they just join up as they move along?
Many species they'll all kind of come together, right? It's like they know when that wind is right, and you'll just see them swarm like bees, and then they go up and they're gone. And it could be several species together. So as you can see with all these threats, shorebirds have issues. And the Canadians have done a great job analyzing several shorebird surveys. We have an Arctic shorebird survey, we have international shorebird survey, which Maine contributes data to. We have the breeding bird survey. They looked at all these, and they found that most of the shorebird species, remember we're talking almost 30 species, are in decline. These particular species are suffering what we call a significant population decline over the last really 30 years. Black-bellied plovers are down 64%. The red knot, which is this guy, their numbers were crashing at such an alarming rate that they are a candidate for federal listing as endangered. And this was all mainly connected to the horseshoe crab harvest in Delaware Bay, where they were over-harvesting the crabs. There were many fewer eggs for these birds to eat. They were leaving that staging area underweight and were not reproducing once they got to the Arctic. They have curtailed a lot of the horseshoe crab harvest, and their numbers are beginning to stabilize. So I'll be interested to see if the feds list it or not.
Is that specific to that bird?
Well, sanderlings, several species stage in that Delaware Bay area.
But there would be other things at other locations?
They were a little more generalized. They would go to the mud flats where the red knots were really key on the horseshoe crabs. Sanderlings too, but the smaller birds had bigger numbers to begin with. The red knots had fewer numbers, the different races, so they fell first. So staging areas have to host large numbers of birds at a single time. This is a semi-palmated sandpiper, and when they arrive in Maine at a staging area, and he looks thin, they only weigh about 20 grams. For them to be successful at the next leg of their migration, they have to double their body weight. They have to reach 40 grams. Now, you see these birds all summer long, but the individual birds are only here between 10 and 20 days. So they have only have that amount of time to gain that fat to continue on. If they don't have the fat, they will still continue and try to migrate. It's just how they're programmed. And it works because you're always getting waves of new ones. If they all hung out all at once, probably the invertebrates wouldn't be able to keep up with them. And they'd probably deplete their habitat for food. So it's a natural, it works for them if the habitats are in good order.
You mentioned invertebrates, which ones are?
Oh, yes, I'll tell you right now. It's good, yeah, because I forget little parts. But yes, they eat all the worms, oligochaetes, polychaetes, amphipods. The real important amphipod that the smaller sandpipers like are the Calophium, which is very high in fat and omega-3s, but they'll eat bloodworms, sandworms. They're opportunists. Whatever's there in the largest concentrations is what they're going to eat. They don't have time to be fussy. And as you notice, they all have different bill lengths and leg lengths. That helps them so they don't compete. Some birds can reach deeper in the mud and get different invertebrates. So again, they've got their strategy worked out quite well. So a shorebird feeding area is very often mud flats. And these are the requirements. They need high densities of the invertebrates. low disturbance, and free of contaminants. And the big thing regarding disturbance is when the tide first goes out, the birds will come on that first mud showing. And so right then, they're very close to the upland edge, and that's when they're most susceptible to human disturbance along the shoreline. As the tide goes out, they will follow the water line and spread out amongst the flat. So out there, they're really not susceptible to much disturbance. Even people clamming and worming is not a big disturbance issue. But when they're close to shore, that's when they get in trouble. And if they can't feed, and they have to wait, then they're losing an hour to 3 hours worth of feeding time. And that's critical for them to keep feeding and gain that fat. So this is why we implemented significant wildlife habitat and are doing building setbacks, just to move people a little bit back from this upland edge. But I'll talk more about that later. When the tide comes in and the flats are covered, the birds have to go somewhere to rest and digest all that food and preen. So they need what we call roosts. And let's see, shorebird roosts can be, they're a variety of things, but they're very discreet too. They're either sandy beaches, sand gravel bars, rock ledges, islands. They don't want vegetation because a lot of their predators live in trees, like the merlins. They want to be able to see, so if danger comes, they can fly away real fast. Salt marsh habitat is good roost because they can feed while they're there too. They can feed in the salt pans. And ideally, roosts are close to the feeding area, so they're not burning all that fat off going back and forth. You can see no one's going to roost here because this person is there. But there's a lot of competition now between shorebirds and gulls for these roosting sites. Does not help the shorebirds. Here's a bunch of quick, how many are there? They're quite cryptic, and that when they find a good roost, they're often very hard to see until you're right on top of them. So what they need, requirements of a roost, low disturbance, and located above the high water mark. This is the sand beach in Ripley Neck in Harrington. I don't know if you know this area, but this once had over 40,000 birds roosting on it. Today, on a good day, you might get 600, but more normally I'll see 100 birds, maybe 150.
Why is that?
Because of the declines that we're facing with shorebirds. This is the other side of that particular roost where it's cobble. Some like to roost on sand, some like to roost in the cobble. They will try, if they come to an area and their natural roost is degraded in some way, they will try to roost anywhere, and they will roost on artificial structures. But usually they're not successful because before long someone comes to tie up their boat. They have to go again to find another area to roost. But they're exhausted, they have to go somewhere. Our coastline, as you know, is rapidly changing. Exponential growth is happening throughout the Atlantic coast. So back in '91, realizing this, NRPA was passed and shorebird areas were included in NRPA. And we had two things going on. We had that happen, and we had the Exxon Valdez oil spill, such that my department said we've got to get our act together and start identifying and mapping these habitats that shorebirds need. So back in 1991, we began these coast-wide surveys, and it was supported by oil spill funding. The first thing I did was split up the coast in the basic watersheds that we had. Your Hog Bay and Taunton area is in this Blue Hill and Frenchman Bay shorebird unit. Because our coastline is so diverse, I didn't want to compare bird numbers, say in Casco Bay, with bird numbers in Penobscot Bay, with Coxcook, because you have different species and these areas support different numbers. In other words, Penobscot Bay doesn't have a lot of good shorebird habitat, so 100 birds feeding in a cove in Penobscot Bay might be significant. But down here, down east, with the pristine mudflats, with the high densities of invertebrates, 100 birds in a cove doesn't really mean much because most of these coves can support thousands of birds. So I wanted to just look at specific areas and just rate them within each unit for their own merits, basically, why we split it up. We came up with a criteria.
How did you find the boundaries between those areas?
It was just slashed on marine charts. There's no science behind that.
Okay.
But basically going for the major watersheds and looking at habitats. But the mean number, this was our criteria. Areas will qualify for management concern status either by total numbers of birds that use that particular area, or if it's important for a single species. So we average all our observations, and if 10% or more of the shorebirds within a unit use a particular area, that area is an area of significance for shorebird management concern. So for instance, Hog Bay here, that has 11% of the total shorebirds that use your Frenchman Bay, Blue Hill unit. So that area qualifies. It also has over 10% of the semi-palmated sandpiper, so it actually qualifies for semi-palmated sandpipers as well. So that's kind of how that works. We didn't go through rulemaking back then in 1989 when it was first passed because we thought we could better negotiate with people, and when they heard how important these habitats were, they would just, sure, we'll help you out. Well, that doesn't really work very well. I have lost many shorebird areas to development in the 15 years since we were a kinder and friendlier agency. This was a very important mud flat. It was small, but it fed over 400 birds. There's nothing there today. There's 2 other docks on the other side. This is another area that's compromised now. Shorebirds are very reluctant to fly through a bunch of boats that are moored. And also on this side is a major parking area for semis that are accessing a big facility. So this area is no longer in use. So that's what was happening without regulation. Some people, we were successful with implementing setbacks, but anyone with a good lawyer could tell us, you don't have a legal leg to stand on, we'll do what we want. And so they did. Another side effect of artificial structures on shorebird areas is they're a wonderful perch for their predators. This is a peregrine falcon, probably hunting shorebirds right there. Shorebirds do not like docks. For one thing, they're reluctant to go under structures because all their predators come from the sky. The footprint that the dock takes in a mud flat, immediately they lose that habitat. And any human activity on the dock keeps them at least 100 meters away. Shorebirds do not like to be within 100 meters of very much activity. So docks are a bad thing. So just to tell you a little more about the Natural Resources Protection Act, this was an effort to, back in 1988, we had several laws, state laws that protected different natural resources. This was an attempt to put them all under one law, to simplify things. And when they did that, they also identified 2 other natural resources to be protected under this act. One is fragile mountain areas, and the other one was significant wildlife habitats. And the significant wildlife habitats were seabird nesting islands, vernal pools, high and moderate value waterfowl and wading birds, habitats inland and tidal, and my shorebird nesting, feeding, and staging habitats. Now, we did implement rulemaking for the seabird nesting islands in 1998. A lot of those islands were already conservationally owned. They're small, discrete. They did not affect a lot of landowners. So we went ahead with this. But it did affect enough landowners that we stopped with rulemaking for the other ones. We were just afraid people would become unglued. And now, after losing so much habitat, we're like, okay, we will go through rulemaking, which happened in 2006 for these other ones. The thing with shorebirds is, as I said earlier, the nesting species are fine, except for the piping plover, and those habitats are already protected through essential habitat. So we haven't gone to rulemaking for shorebird nesting areas, and the feeding goes with the nesting. All we've gone through rulemaking are for staging areas that we have identified. We adopted the rule in 2006. People didn't like it. And after many phone calls and a lot more debate with the legislature, we changed it and made some compromises to the original rule. And that was completed in June 2007, just this year. This is, the NRPA is a DEP law. It's not my department's law. My department is mandated to identify the significant wildlife habitats and map them. But it's DEP that enforces the regulation. Along with the shorebird staging areas, it includes the intertidal zone plus a 250-foot buffer area around roosts. The original rule had 250-foot buffer area around roosts and feeding areas. But because the feeding areas are so extensive and the shorebirds are somewhat forgiving on the feeding areas, we compromised and put it to only a 100-foot setback on the feeding areas. So specific threats to Maine staging areas are, again, shoreline development, human-related disturbances, docks, marinas, those all go with the development issue. Intertidal mussel dragging, clamming, and bayworm harvesting does have an impact on shorebirds, contaminants, oil spills, and predators. So Taunton Bay, how does that fit into it? Well, as I said, Hog Bay qualified as significant wildlife habitat because of semi-permanent sandpipers and total shorebird use. We also had Upper Taunton Bay roost site qualified because of black-bellied plovers. Egypt Bay qualified. Egypt Bay supports a lot of feeding shorebirds, relatively, but it didn't qualify for feeding, but it did have a number of yellow-legged species roosting. So the roosts in Egypt Bay qualified, but not the feeding area. And just some numbers that you folks and my agency has generated. We've also surveyed the area in 1999, but just to show you what numbers are doing in the shorebird world, this is not just happening in Taunton Bay area, it's happening throughout the Atlantic coast. For black-bellied plovers, you've done pretty well, you're maintaining your numbers, and that's a large number for black-bellied plovers. Your semi-palming sandpipers, way down. I do have some data where there are 300 birds, but that's still not like what you had. Semi-palming plovers, I don't think you have 1,000 here anymore. Red knots, you haven't seen. That could be because of Delaware Bay, but it could be from other issues as well.
Do these numbers represent one count on one day, or
These are high counts.
high count?
Yeah, a single high count for that year. And these numbers these years were selected because I could find a consistent, like they were probably, everyone was surveyed every week in August, say. Just to make a somewhat comparison, I was going for a consistent survey effort. Egypt Bay, same thing. Numbers aren't what they were. And of course, your roost, you had more birds on this roost than any other roost along the coastline. But one of the factors there was indeed your successful bald eagles. Shorebirds don't really want to roost below nesting bald eagles. But where did they go? The other roosts I have in the Taunton Bay area, they're not supporting 3,000 birds. So that's a quandary. And, you want multi-use of these areas. And this is why I'm so proud of your area, the Friends of Taunton Bay. With your management plan, you're really looking at multiple use for these natural resources. I'm hoping to work more with people here and we'll see what's really going on specifically for shorebirds in this area. So just to summary on what's happening with shorebirds. And I try to be a little more eloquent when I write than when I speak. But low annual recruitment, populations are sustained only by survival of the adults. North American populations are declining. They have high site fidelity in coastal staging areas, which can really impact populations in these bottleneck areas. Main staging areas must provide the fat reserves for that non-stop flight over the ocean. Probably the biggest hurdle they face in their entire annual life cycle. The shorebirds, when they're staging, are only here a limited period of time. They only have a limited foraging space. And disturbance creates behavioral disruptions which interfere with needed weight gains. And contaminants interfere with their navigational abilities and metabolic rates. Again, you've got birds that are accumulating fat and burning fat very quickly, so they just absorb all these contaminants. And I just like to end with my favorite, the purple sandpiper. Well, God knows why they spend the winter here, but that's what they do. So I'm open for questions or discussions or whatever you want.
Thank you, Lindsay. Where do we stand? Do we have any questions, opinions?
That was a lot of information.
It is a lot.
New to me.
It's new to a lot of people
Learned an awful lot.
in the scientific world too. People are just beginning to do a lot of shorebird studies. But everyone's doing it, from Canada to the US to South America. Everyone's stepping up to the plate for these birds.
And Taunton Bay and Hog Bay and things like that, are birds mainly feeding low tide and flats?
Right, right. And probably on Parathea, but that's something we need to look at. On the amphipod, that particular amphipod, Parathea. But that's something we need to look at, exactly what they are feeding here and what are the concentrations of that food.
And what species are you seeing in Taunton Bay?
Basically all the ones in decline. The semi-pluming sandpiper, the black-bellied plovers, you get least sandpipers, you get the lesser and greater yellow legs, you get the semi-pluming plovers. Yeah, you have a nice assortment. You used to get red knots, which we don't get a lot of coastwide, we never did. But that kind of indicates to me that this area was very special for shorebirds, that it would attract one of the rare species along our coastline. Short-billed dowitchers, yeah.
You had a ruddy turnstone in there.
Ruddies, yeah.
Did we ever get those?
They're more south of the Sullivan Bridge. They're kind of like the purple sandpipers. They are attracted to rockweed-covered rocks and ledges. But they are seen on my flats. And I don't know if I have any in my database in your area, but there wouldn't be many.
Keep my eye open, I didn't see.
Yeah. You should get one or two.
Are there offshore islands where the birds utilize an area for feeding?
The what?
Are there offshore islands that?
Oh, yeah. Some for feeding, like the ruddy turnstones and of course the purples. But they utilize a lot of the outer islands for roosting. Because it is quite quiet out there and nice bare rocks and ledges. They do compete with the gulls for those areas, but generally they're pretty good roosts. The problem there is some are quite far from the ideal feeding areas, so they're burning more fat by going to those quieter areas. But you go, we can.
Is the night heron a major predator?
No, not for them. They are for nesting terns
Right.
and dogs, but who cares about them?
So,
Am I prejudiced? Yes, I am.
so how does this happen? That the birds go up north to nest, they raise their young, then they parents take off,
Yep,
they come south,
yeah,
and the siblings come south too.
yep.
So how does that happen?
It's just how they're programmed.
Yeah.
You know, no one can really explain it, you know.
Yeah.
They're not learning it from their parents, but they do it.
Right. They fly as a group.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So in effect, we have no shorebirds that nest here. They all nest way up north, they just pass through.
Well, no, we have the 8 species that nest, but in Taunton Bay area, you probably only have maybe a spotted sandpiper nesting. But we have like piping plover in southern Maine. Killdeer are actually a shorebird, and woodcock and snipe are shorebirds. So they all nest in Maine.
Are they suffering similar declines?
They're fine. Killdeer is starting to decline, but in Maine, they're still widespread and quite common. Spotted sandpipers are thought to be declining, and again, in Maine, they're widespread and common. I mean, I think they're on every coastal island. I see them all up and down the Piscataquis River and Penobscot River. So I'm not concerned about our populations of those particular species.
Have there been any studies done, or thought given to some sort of artificial feeding stations for the shorebirds that are being displaced?
It would be a tough thing to do. How do you generate invertebrates in such large numbers? And the best thing you can do is protect the mud flats that the invertebrates live in and keep them clean from contaminants. There has been studies on creating artificial roosts, because roosting habitat is very limiting, and with some success. But these birds are so programmed into their natural habitats, it's hard to improve upon that.
How much loss is there from radio, cell phone towers and things like that?
No one really knows for sure. It'd be an interesting study though. It's probably not huge, but it adds, it's all cumulative impacts. And the whole idea of conservation for shorebirds is just trying to minimize as many of these impacts as we can. You're never going to totally protect them.
Is there anything in particular in Taunton and Hancock Bay area that you think is impacting upon this?
I haven't studied this area, but we're hoping to. Obviously, any area that has clamming and digging can impact these birds. Whether or not it has, we need to figure that out by looking at the food base. Compared to other areas of the state, mid-coast and southern, it's quite still rural here and pristine, and your areas aren't filled with docks, and you don't have a lot of human disturbance issues up here, so that's a good thing. And your numbers may be declining, may have nothing to do with Taunton Bay. May have issues with those local populations in South America. That's what's tough. Generally, if you walk quietly, they'll tolerate you. Yeah. Just don't run. Don't run. Just walk.
Kayaking, I see.
Yeah.
Chasing birds along the shore.
Don't do that. But again, if you're quiet and move slowly, they can go around you. Especially the juveniles, they're not really keyed in on the real world yet, and they're usually quite tolerant of people, and it is fun to get close and watch them.
You're talking about July, August, and September?
Yeah. We do have one species that comes later. The dun one comes in October, November. But Maine isn't real important for that particular species. They all have a different window, each species coming in. They're very well organized.
Your comment about not being able to pin down where the problems are. There is a problem, maybe a whole series of problems.
Yes.
I've heard that as a rationale for not doing anything locally, because you always say, well, maybe we're not the problem, maybe they're the problem.
Right.
In
I
10
heard that
different places. But it seems to me, conversely, you say, well, if every area does what it can to protect the shorebirds, so everybody assumes they are part of the problem rather than they're not part of the problem.
Right.
Maybe we could make a difference. And I wonder, is there any international coordination
Yes,
of
there
that kind of
is.
effort?
Because that is the feeling, If you limit these threats throughout the whole life cycle, more will survive, more will reproduce, more will return. And there's an international association called WSRN, Western Shorebird Reserve Network, where they're protecting habitats from Canada down to South America. And it's the North American funding is helping the South American countries come up to speed with habitat protection. And what they do is they identify a site, say in the Bay of Fundy, and then they have a sister site, say down in Suriname or off Brazil or something. And they share research and they share funding to help protect the birds. And that's one international organization, but scientists throughout the hemisphere are working towards conservation efforts. And it's just like, waterfowl. We have bag limits and hunting seasons for ducks. Even though we know that, okay, if we stop hunting wood ducks by such and such day, they continue to migrate, those Louisiana hunters are going to blast our wood ducks. So the idea is to just limit the mortality every step of the way, so some will survive to return to Maine. So, you do. Everyone has to pitch in if we want these birds. And given their strong site fidelity, what we do in Maine will protect our birds. If we do nothing in Maine, we're going to lose our birds, and we won't get birds from anywhere else. So we do have a strong responsibility for our local populations.
If the Friends of Taunton Bay, say, or local residents wanted to do something to counter the trend of declining population, do you have any suggestions or plans?
Well, we need to study the impacts of the clamming and the digging. And once we determine if there is an impact, and generally speaking there usually is, then if you can set aside some areas of habitat for no digging, that would improve things a lot for these birds. Protecting the roosts are very important, and just general local awareness of what these birds are trying to achieve can make a big difference. You don't give up on them just because some may get shot when they get down to South America. If you provide the habitat, now like today, or this year was a banner year in the Arctic. I've seen more juveniles this year than I ever had. So if the habitat is here and healthy, when the birds do have a good production year, it's going to make a difference if they have a good start to their migration on our healthy habitats.
What kinds of things would you be looking for in terms of climbers and wonders? What sort of data would you be gathering?
Just actually looking at the food base, the invertebrates that the birds are feeding on, are they affected by the digging? What's the recovery rate of the numbers, the concentrations of the invertebrates when the digging is completed? How many months can the invertebrates tolerate? It all ties to the food base, because disturbance isn't a real issue with digging. So that's a good thing, The birds don't really mind clamors because they're all on the same side, they're eating the same thing. The wormers might not like the shorebirds, but...
The birds are eating clams, you said not much eating bloodworms occasionally.
Right.
So
So that's
the
not,
digging might be useful, or might even be setting up things for them to eat.
it does initially, in the short term, they will feed on the invertebrates that are dug up and laying on the surface. But in a little longer term, the digging does kill a lot of the invertebrates, the juvenile invertebrates that would overwinter and reproduce the next summer. That's the effect we have to nail down, is the direct mortality to the invertebrates. Also, if you can picture the mud after it's been dug, shorebirds hunt. They find their prey through visual or tactile. And those amphipods that live in the mud are in burrows. So the shorebirds are looking for those holes, or they're feeling for the holes. So if that's all dug up, they can't find the holes. So even if the invertebrates are still in the mud, it makes it much harder for them to find them and eat. So it's a little more work, less energy going into fat.
Is the clamming commercial, or is it just individual clamming?
Well, it would depend, it's actually the pressure on that particular habitat you're looking at, particular cove. What's the pressure? How often is it done? How big of that whole area is actually done? You know, shorebirds will bounce around. In Taunton Bay, you know, they can feed in Hog Bay. They might go down and feed in Egypt Bay. You know, they have a strong site fidelity to the area, but within the whole, like my shorebird survey unit, they can bounce around and try and find habitat. But if digging's going on everywhere, then that's a real issue.
How's the global climate change up north? Does that make it better for the birds? Because
I don't know. The jury's out on that. It makes for more erratic weather, and the wind patterns, of course, are very important, and that may affect the wind. But you would think the warmer temperatures would be a benefit. If the invertebrates up there, the diptera, the mosquitoes, if they're benefiting from the warmer temperatures, the shorebirds will. But I'm not sure if that's the case.
they feed on mud flats up there?
Well, pools on the tundra.
No,
I don't know how much mud, but, you know, the boggy areas, is my understanding. I haven't been there.
Any more questions? You learned a lot.
Very honored, very nice.
Lindsay, thank you for bringing this to our attention. It's so easy, life is so complicated to not think about these little people who don't register on our radar.
Well, the numbers are so big that you assume they're doing well.
It's erupting and it completely disrupts the image. And this is the plume. This is actively venting methane and suspending all manner of mud.